have Steve G. Jones, one of our regular contributors on the show, and always a fascinating guy to talk to. Steve G. Jones is a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. And, it's so funny because he's been on the show. I've known Steve now for over a year, and we did a live segment for the TV show that we're doing for the Learning Channel, and I think I called him Richard or something else. I'm talking to Rich. I talked to Steve, a bunch of times on the show, off the show, and all of a sudden the camera, they rolled action, and I started calling him completely different name. But anyway, Steve G. Jones is here on the show. We're going to talk to him momentarily. He's a board-certified clinical hypnotherapist. He's also been practicing hypnotherapy since 1980. He is the author of 22 books on hypnotherapy. He is a member of the National Guild of Hypnotists, American Board of Hypnotherapy, president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists, on the board of directors of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Lung Association, and a director of the California State Registered Steve G. Jones School of Hypnotherapy. In order to keep up with the very latest in research and techniques, he regularly attends training conferences. Steve G. Jones, welcome back to Money for Lunch.
Hey, thanks for having me back here, Bert.
Yeah, and I got your name right even.
You did. I am impressed. We are, and it's so early in the morning, and you're still doing great. Thank you.
Yeah. It's funny you should say so early in the morning. It's either it's 1 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Central time, 11 o'clock our time, and 10 o'clock Pacific time. So it's really not quite that early, but of course, most of us live a different lifestyle than Steve. Steve probably just, he likes to get out of bed at the crack of noon, right?
Exactly. When you're completely self-employed and you've been that way as long as I have, yeah, noon is the new 6 a.m.
All right. Well, listen, here we are. We have a brand new year, and I wanted to talk about one of my favorite subjects to talk to you about, and that is self-talk, affirmations, incantations, whatever we want to call them. I like to refer to them as affirmations, and really kind of help our audience understand how we are constantly using affirmations all the time, whether we're aware of it or not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you say, let's say you hit your thumb with the hammer by accident, you say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." That's just you saying something that you think you should say, or maybe it's just something that's programmed, or maybe you think it's the truth in that moment. But whatever the case is, every time you say something like that, you affirm that to be the case. And so when you think about it, what does an idiot do? Well, an idiot, if we were to be one, would make really not so good choices. So you can actually program yourself to go beyond that hammer incident and to make choices that really aren't that great in other aspects of your life. So that's why it's so important to be aware of how you're talking to yourself and how you've become accustomed to talking to yourself in every situation.
Yeah, and you really, the thing I learned from this, and every time I talk to you too, is that we really need to train ourselves to be very conscious of the words and the self-talk that we use.
Yes.
And it's amazing to me. Since getting to know you, I've become, again, very aware of my self-talk, just like I've mentioned. And I was out snowboarding not too long ago, a couple of months back, and I started listening to my self-talk, and I just became aware of how much fear my conversation was about. I was like really afraid of falling over, really afraid of going too fast. And it's like I was afraid of this, afraid of, it's like, my gosh, no wonder I'm going to wipe out, because I'm affirming my fear, and I'm affirming the things I don't want to do.
Yeah, and you really have to be careful with it, because, as I mentioned, you can just feel that you're reporting the truth. I am afraid. I I will probably wipe out. Well, to you, that's the calculated truth of the situation. But that doesn't really matter to your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind doesn't really know about this thing called truth. It just knows what it hears. And so you reprogram it to do that. And so that's how you can continue to have these challenges. If you think going into a financial situation, you're going to, make a mistake or do something wrong, you may very well do it. If you think while driving that they may happen, or snowboarding, or going into a relationship, or anything else that you're doing in life, if you go into it affirming those things, you have a much higher chance of those things actually happening. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be smooth sailing all the way down that mountain snowboarding if you don't say negative things, or if you do say positive things. There's no guarantee of that. But the percentage of probability goes up that you're going to have a successful day of it, whatever it is you're doing, if you get into this habit of affirming that what seems to be not the truth to you, which is that I'm going to do just fine. Everything's going to work out perfectly well.
Absolutely, and this goes to anything that we do, whether it's creative writing. I think that one of the things that we hear people say all the time, when it comes to creative writing or writing a book, well, I can't write, or I'm not a good writer, or I'm not very creative. So the self-talk that we're talking about, this affirmations that we're talking about, guys, penetrates all of our lives. Calling yourself an idiot. Oh, I'm never going to lose the weight. I'm always fat. I just I picked the wrong person to date. I can never save money. These things are usually said with such emotion and such repetitiveness that your subconscious can't help but affirm and make these things a reality.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely right. And they also become an excuse. Oh, that's just the way things go for me. Oh, well, that's just the way this situation always goes. Oh, that happens to me. Oh, that's just my luck. It becomes an affirmation and it becomes an excuse. So cleaning up this type of language is the solution. And when you catch yourself saying something like that, like, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, this always happens to me. Something like that would normally serve to perpetuate the situation. Just acknowledge that you're human and that you've been programmed to say those things by yourself and your experiences, or maybe you heard someone say that, and so it became part of your the way you do things. And then word it in the way that it should be worded, which is, I have the possibility of doing this any way I want, or I will be successful, even if it sounds like it's not the truth to you, such as, I will snowboard down the side of this mountain successfully, even if you're thinking, hey, I don't know about that. If you just say it to yourself and you get used to saying it to yourself, then eventually it becomes part of your subconscious programming. Your subconscious mind looks for ways to make that happen. And we have to remember, our subconscious mind, especially in something like snowboarding, has a number of split-second decisions to make all the way down. When I say a number, I mean thousands of decisions, any one of which could result in things not going well, but they all come together to result in it going well. And that's the way our life is. Our subconscious mind is able to make minute changes along the way and do things differently so that we can have success.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about this. If somebody's listening to us right now and they're saying, man, I want to change some of my self-talk, I want to change some of these affirmations, do you have a strategy you like to use? I've heard different things from, pick one affirmation and like the example you were giving, take that negative, turn it into a positive, and you repeat it, every morning, multiple times every morning and multiple times every night. Do you have a specific strategy that you like to use?
Well, I like that idea. I like the idea of figuring out something that you're working on right now. And it's good to start small. You don't have to start small, but it's good to start small. What is something that you want to clean up right now, that you want to have success in. I don't suggest making it something like, going to the moon or, building a new pyramid at Egypt or anything like that. Just, something small. I've got X amount of money in my savings account, small and measurable. And then just say it to yourself a few times a day. Just find a time to say it to yourself. And when I say it to yourself, let's say we're talking about a person who has $5,000 in savings and they wish they had $10,000 in savings. And it's within their means right now to do that. And it doesn't always have to be within your means, because sometimes you find a way to do it. But just for the starting out person, to make it simple and measurable and easily achievable, I have $10,000 in my savings account, would be a great affirmation. And just saying that three times in a row, 3 times a day, is really what you want to do. And just say it with belief. I have $10,000 in my savings account. It sounds almost ridiculous. It almost sounds like a magical incantation, like you're wishing it with a magic wand. But really what happens is your subconscious mind starts to think that I have $10,000 in my savings account. And then it realizes in reality that you don't. So it finds a way to make that happen. It finds a way to make that reality. So if you want to make some easy money, as they say, and find a way to, and let your subconscious mind do the driving and find a way to make that happen, just start out with an affirmation like that, a slightly greater amount than what you have right now in your savings account.
Yeah, I like that because it's very simple. And guys, I want to tell you the power of these affirmations. They are a great way to train yourself, a great way to train your kids, great way to train, the way you think about certain subject matters. I remember I used to struggle quite a bit with algebra, and I needed an algebra coach or tutor or whatever, and I used affirmations to help me get through that, and they do work. I mean, affirmations work, and they're somewhat magical because at least I'm not 100% sure how they work, but the bottom line is I want to let you guys know that we are constantly using affirmations. I hate my job. I'm on top of the world. Both positive and negative. There's constant affirmations that we're using, and we just have to be aware of them, because some of these affirmations weave their way into everything we do. I have a friend of mine who just bought some of Steve's stuff at stevegjones.com because he's had one failed relationship after the other. And I told him, look, go there and see what you can find, because I know for a fact that a lot of the stuff that we experience happens first in our mind, sometimes consciously, but most of the time subconsciously. And the only way to get rid of fears, or get rid of failures, or get rid of you fill in the blank, is to retrain what we're thinking about and attracting into our lives, right, Steve?
Oh, absolutely. That is the way to do it. I mean, if you want to retrain your subconscious mind, you've got to start doing things differently. For me, my journey with algebra, in ninth grade, I sat next to Susie Diaz, and I wasn't very interested in what was being written on the board, but I was interested in Susie. I didn't do too well in algebra in ninth grade. The next year, my parents sent me to military school for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and they made me get interested in algebra and the other subjects, so that really saved my academic career. But it was, now that's drastic, and I certainly don't recommend military school to any parents thinking of sending their kids to boarding or military school. Just, keep them at home. You can work with them. But what it did for me, though since it's already happened, it did have some positive effects. It got me focused. It got me. It was also a change. It was a massive change in my life. So that's what it takes. You've got to have the desire to have a massive change in your life, and when you do have this desire, you start finding ways to do things differently. And you start not only saying affirmations, not only believing them, but you also start looking for new associations. Military school provided that automatically. All these people who are also, being pushed to be their best. So you start looking for all kinds of ways to make positive changes. So I encourage you to everyone listening to use affirmations, but also look for other major changes you can make to get yourself into a more positive environment to make that change stick.
Right. And one of the things I want to point out, many, many years ago, I was hired by a newspaper in Houston, Texas, and I took their sales team, and their sales team was divided into three different departments, and I gave this one sales team a set of affirmations that we would do together in the beginning of our workday and at the end of the workday. And using these affirmations literally got everybody in that department. We got this whole department to go from ranking number 3 in the company to ranking number 2, and then eventually ranking number 1. And this entire department set goals. Not goals, records that have not been broken since then. And then these same affirmations were used in the other departments, and they also had double and triple growth. It took this company, it was a small company, they were doing about $3 million a year, and it took them from a $3 million a year company to a $10 million a year company in less than 24 months because they got everybody on these affirmations. So they're very powerful. And I want everybody to really think about how you can use them in your life for fitness, finances, faith, family, fun activities that you want to do. They're useful in every way in all parts of our lives, and they're automatic after a while.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just it also creates a very positive when you talk about using them in the workplace and using them. A few people using them together or a group using them together, it also creates a very positive environment. I mean, most people's affirmation in that kind of environment might be, well, if I don't do better, I'll probably get fired or won't be able to pay my bills or what have you. The affirmations you're talking about, I imagine, were something more along the lines of, I will sell $10,000 worth of XYZ this week or something along those lines. And so it creates a very positive, wonderful, environment. And if you do it in a group, everyone's cheering everyone else on. They don't have to be done in a group, but if they are, especially if it's an entity like a company that wants to thrive and wants every part of it to thrive, then that's really great. So if you can enroll people in your ideas, and if they have the same ideas and same goals, then doing an affirmation with a group of people can be very rewarding. One person feels a little weak, the rest of the group can pick them up.
Absolutely, and just to give it, because we're getting short on time, I want to. One of the things that I did is I started affirmations for salespeople who deal with a lot of rejection, and so salespeople, we worked on many affirmations that had to deal with rejection. So if you're a business owner and you have to contact other business owners, maybe you're selling B2B products or, whatever, maybe you're in the B2C space, but you have to do selling and you're afraid of rejection, an affirmation can help you overcome and deal with rejection. An affirmation can help you become more fearless. And again, I get no remuneration for this. You can also go to SteveGJones.com, and he's got a couple of audios that I recommend to everybody. And one of them has to do with the fear of rejection, overcoming rejection, has to do with achieving your resolutions, has to do with money and abundance. So there's the world's biggest library there at SteveGJones.com, where any kind of area that you want to enhance, you can go there, get an audio, and listen to it all the time. And within, I want to tell you, a week to 20 days, you'll start noticing little things here and there that are no longer bothering you. That all of a sudden you have more confidence. You're making more money. You have a little step, what do you call it, bounce to your step. It just kind of happens almost magically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I started noticing this effect. Thank you so much for that, Bert. I started noticing this effect when I was working with clients in my office in Beverly Hills. They come in for a confidence to build their confidence in some arena, and they, very very meek and timid. They would come in and not feeling very good about themselves. And about week 2 or 3, and this would happen every now and then. They would say, "You know what? This isn't working, and I don't need it anymore. I'm not gonna do this anymore because I don't need it. It's not working for me, and just forget it." And that would happen every now and then. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what we're after. This person a few weeks ago would not have had the gumption or the the wherewithal to say anything like that. And so my point is that a lot of times the confidence that you get is just going to be so subtle and so natural, and it's going to feel like such a part of you that you're really not even going to notice it many times that it's happening from a recording. It's just going to be you reaching in yourself and saying, "Hey, I'm confident. I'm a powerful person." So that's the kind of change, the kind of natural change you can expect at stevegjones.com.
Absolutely. Steve, we're out of time. Always good to have you on the show. Looking forward to speaking with you soon, my friend.